Hello all. So wishing you all a happy new year 2023. As I started, I was just going through some of the questions posted on community, and I might start doing that going forward once in a while when it seems important. And I saw a very interesting question. So thought to let's talk about it here so that you all understand it as we go through it. So the question is in Dynamics 365 Business Central Forum, and the question is titled as RDLC pass value as parameter. The question is the person need to create a report with a group by parameter on the request page, where the idea is that user should be able to select the field on which he would like to filter or group the data in the RDLC layout. Now, if we know the group by is a parameter that's available in the RDLC report and that accepts a field, and then there are other ways to kind of tweak it so that you can have it generic. But as a table has so many fields, it cannot be generalized from the perspective of the field selection by the user. So we'll see what the possibilities are, and we'll try to achieve whatever is possible in this particular scenario. So let's try doing that in this video, and then you'll understand what's possible and what's not possible in a Business Central RDLC report from that perspective. Okay. So without wasting any time, let's jump into our Visual Studio Code and let's try doing that. So let me zoom this in. So I already have a repo. It's available on the GitHub if you need it going forward. So let's quickly just, for the example, let's create a report on, let's think about it. But I'll have so many fields for grouping. The item ledger entry. Okay, so let's try to create a report on item ledger entries and see, can we group it on location, item number, and other fields if we see. We'll decide that as we go forward. Okay, I'm using the latest release of Business Central, but as it's an RDLC report, the steps remain same for nav 2009 till the latest version, 2000 and RDC, just FYI. Okay, so I'm using AZAL extension and create using the AZAL extension, DevTool extension. I'm using the wizard to create a report. Okay, so let's name it as group by demo. Okay, and the table is item ledger entries. Okay, I'd like to have this report visible on report and analysis menu. So done that. Let's pick some fields that we would like to group it on. So which would be, let's say, item number, and then location code, something that the question also have, and let's take some other fields also. Okay, let's do quantity. We'll also do a sum of quantities just to check it, and let's say source type. Okay, and you can choose as many fields as you want for the report. That's based on your requirements for the report. And let's finish this. So this gives me a templated report altogether. The name should be corrected, so I'll just do that. Okay. Okay. So now I have the data item for item ledger entry, and I have these following columns. Now, let's do the first thing is let's add a layout into it. So how you add a layout into this? There's a property called RDLC Layout, and then you need to provide the path where you would like this RDLC file to be placed in your extension. That depends on how your project is set up. So just make sure that you follow the same one. I would like to keep the file inside the reports folder. So I'd use the path root, and then inside that I have the source folder. Inside that I have the reports folder. And again, this word is case sensitive. So if you have a folder named as R capital on your reports, then make sure that you use the same nomenclature for it. And then I would name the report RDLC file as same, just to keep it simple. And we will call it as RDLC. Now you choose RDLC or RDL, that based on what kind of tools you have to open that layout. Once you have defined this property and you do a Control Shift B for build process, you'll see a report layout file will be added here based on this data set. Okay, there's the report. Let's right click it and let's say reveal open externally. If there is a report builder installed on your machine, that will utilize that and open that on your report builder like it is done for me. The data set will be part of it because we did the build process. Now let's just to save time, let's build a simple table X report. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 fields, so let's add one more column here. Okay, and just pick some of the fields here. Location, source type, and quantity. Now that's a numeric field, so it'll have a format, so we should surely assign the format so that we see the business central formatting into that field, whatever is set in the database. And let's remove the default borders. I think it should show me properties somewhere. Yes. I don't need any colors on this. I don't need any border styles on it. And that's it. Okay. So let me make it a little bit bigger so that we can zoom this in. And then I would try to expand these columns so you can see that when we are running this. Okay, just to make sure that this is header, I'll do a different color to this, and then I'll make sure that the header repeats on every page, which happens from here, not from here actually, from this advanced mode, and repeat on new pages too. Okay, now this is a basic list report that's created. At this point, technically speaking, if you would like to add a group on the body row, you'll right click and you'll say add group as parent group. Here you can define a field on which you would like to group it from, item number, quantity, source type and all. So let's do item number and let's add a group header and a footer just to keep it simple. I'll remove this additional column, and at the group footer level, this is my footer, I'll do a sum of quantity for that group so that I know that it's what's the value of the quantity based on the grouping that I'm doing. So that's how it is, and let me give it a different color so that we identify wherever the group is changing. Okay, let's keep it simple, and let's put a border into it. Okay. Now at this point, what's going to happen, it's going to group it based on item number, which is a static grouping. Let's close this. Let's come back to our report. Now let's think about what we want to do. We want to give user an option to select a field that's based on which they would like to group it. Now when you have to give an option to user, that happens from the request page. So let's do something. Let's add a page field and we'll call it as group by. we'll have the caption set as group by, so the user can choose it. Now I would like user to choose the field that they would like to set it from. So there should be a lookup to fetch this value. So let's utilize a trigger which is on lookup code. On lookup, the lookup has a signature that you can check on the MSDN if needed. In the lookup, we would like to give user a selection of the field. That will happen from a table called field. So let's do a field record, which is of type record field. The lookup will actually happen from a page. So we need a field page based on a page called field lookup. Utilizing the field page lookup, will be able to give a lookup to user where they can see the fields that they can select from. So now what we need is we need to filter out our field record with a set range of table number, whatever the table is. For us, the table is item ledger entries. So the field is set for that table in summary. Now at this point, the field record is filtered for all the fields in the item ledger entry table. So what we are gonna do now is we're gonna do a if page dot run model. Which page? Page of field lookup. So we might not need this variable in that case. Yeah. On the second parameter is the table for run model, which is field record. And then we're gonna say that it's an action of type lookup. Okay. So at this point, when user sees the lookup, then they can choose one of the field and then do a OK button. That's what will be visible. What will return from it is which will tell us which field user is choosing. So let's create a variable which stores it. Just to keep it simple, what we'll do is we'll create a create an integer field. We'll call it as group by field number of type integer. So what group by field number does, it gets the value when the lookup happens based on whatever the value is, dot field number. Oh, sorry. In the field table, the field should be number. Oh, sorry. So that'll be number. So what this will store? If the user selects a field number 10, it'll say 10. If the user selects the field number 20, it'll say 20. So we'll get that value for us. Now what will happen with that value? And we'll have to change it here. Okay, it's here. Record field. Oh, I'll have to make it global. So let me cut it from here and move it here so that I can do a field record dot number. So when user selects it, I'll have that value in my group by integer, group by field number field, and then that I can utilize into my layout. Now to send this to my layout, I'll have to make sure that this field is part of a data item somewhere. So let's do that. Column addition of group by with the group by, and do opening and closing. Now this column should be available in my layout, and I should be able to play around with it as I go through. Let's say tooltip is missing. So let's do a tooltip. on active editor. Okay, I'm good here. But to make this field available in my RDLC file, I'll have to do a build again, which is Control Shift B. As soon as I do that, my RDLC file now contains a definition of my new field, which is group by field number. So now I'm good here. Now let's see what the possibilities are in my RDLC design. Can I utilize that somehow or not? Would be the question that we'll be testing. Okay. So I've zoomed this in and I'll go back into the grouping condition, which is dynamic grouping, not actually dynamic. But here on the group one, you can select a field as we were doing. You can't select the group by field number because that will be a number. Let's say field number 5, field number 10, field number 7, field number 50,000, field number 2 million, based on whatever the fields are. So I'll have to write a statement based on whatever the field number is returned, whatever the associated field to group on. So what I can do in this case, I can use the expression here. When you click on it, it gives you a way to define a custom expression for it. Now there are different ways to do it. You can either do it using if, which is one case, and then there is a switch. Switch is more or less a case statement in Business Central or Nav, where you say that if this is the value of this field, then return this, and if this is the value of this field, then return this. So what we want to do is we want to give it a condition so that it switches based on it. So before we do that, let's see what we'll get out of it before we start actually changing this. So let's publish this once and we'll see how things change there. Okay, I have an error, which is obvious, which my business central is not set to the right path. But let's see what was the report name that we gave. We said group by demo. Okay, so let's open Business Central and search for group by demo. So in the group by demo, I see, I'll have to name it for sure, but then I see a group by option where I getting a lookup. Now here I can choose any field, but for any field that we will use, we'll have to assign that into the group by properties. So let's say what we are talking about is what I want to group it on location. So if I look at it, location is field number 8, where item is field number 2. And then I also have source type. So let's look at that. Okay, source type is 41. So I'll have to give a case statement that when the number on the group by returns as 41, then group by source number. If number is written by 8 as 8 by user selection, then group by location. If the number returned is 2, then group by item number. That's what we are trying to achieve on this. So right now, even if I do, let's say, location filter, but right now it's statically set to group the data on item number, you'll see that it's doing the group based on item number at this point, which we don't want. What we want in this scenario is to have data grouped based on location when we select that. Okay, so going back to our VS Code, and should have used the right colors, I guess. Didn't look that well, but I guess that's not the intention. Okay, so here we are. So we were talking about that there are conditional grouping that I can do. So what I'll do here is on this group, I'll go back here and I'll use the power of the flow to utilize the switch. I'll keep this because this will be needed. So I'll say I need a switch, and my switch first condition is that if my field of group by field number is equals to 8, then do a grouping based on location code. Okay, Then I'll do a field group by number. If it is equals to 2, then grouping by item number. Okay. And then last but not least, that if my this is equals to 41, then do a group by source type. That's what my if statement or switch statement is. What it'll do, if the user selects 8, it'll automatically return the field location code dot value as the grouping parameter. If the user selects 2, then it returns the grouping parameter as item number, and so on and so forth. You can go on into this as complex as your report is. Now this is also important because there are extension tables, so you need to define a area where user can select it, right? Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens if user doesn't select any of these values. Okay, so let's click OK and let's test it out. So just to space it out, I'll just make it smaller and I'll give this header a different color or the same color so that I know it's in the scope of that header and footer. Okay, looks good. I'm bad at designing, but hope so. Okay, so this got saved. We have added the group by field number. The logic is here to select the field. And let's do a publish again. It should fail again, as obvious. Okay, let's refresh this and let's search for a group by. Is it group by demo? I guess so. Yeah, group by demo. And first, let's choose the field location because item number we have tested it out. So we are choosing the field number 8. If the switch works, it should now group my data based on the location field. So when I'm here, what I'm seeing is the data for all these records that I see on the top of the page are with location empty. And then at this point, it shows me the total of quantities without the location. The second one is location on log, and then it shows me the sum of quantity based on the location on log, and then it picks the blue and it generates all the data and shows the sum as blue, so on and so forth for red, green, yellow, outlog, and white. What if I now switch it to group by demo, and if I now switch it to item number? Let's see what happens now. This time is the same output if you remember earlier what we saw. It is now grouping it based on the item number. All these different items has different rows in there. Last but not least, our condition. Group by demo. Bad habit of forgetting things. And our field was 41, I guess. Yes, 41. Now I should do it by source type. And here it is, where the source type is empty. Here where the source type is item, customer, and vendor, and so on and so forth. But what if now, because this is interesting, I haven't thought about it, but I think it should work. If I do a field which is not defined in my switch condition, let's say country region code, and I do a preview, it does the shorting based on what? Let me see. Oh, it utilizes the last shorting that was done. No, it is not. It is just a plain static report based on the primary key because there is only one grouping at the end of the totals. So what are the two things that we need to do if you have to do this for whatever reason that you have? You need to give a lookup to user to select the fields. How you do it? By using the request page, by defining a lookup where users can select the field based on which they would like to do the group on, get the number from there, the field number, pass it into the your data set, Now remember this one more thing which you haven't talked about, that these names should not change because the grouping on the switch statement is working on these names of these columns. Okay. Once this is done, the other thing that we need to remember is we go into our RDLC file, and in the grouping section, I'll have to beautify this report for sure. We utilize the power of switch, which works as a typical case statement in the RDLC report word. You utilize the power of switch to generate your dynamic grouping if needed for the report. Using the power of switch, you will be able to define which field value is used to group the data when the reports get printed. Do you know any other creative way which I cannot think of? Maybe. If yes, please put a comment into the video and let's talk about it going forward. Um, if you need the source control, I'm pretty sure source code. I'm pretty sure the layout is of no use at this point. But all these recordings, which I'll be doing based on the community question, all those will be available in this repo called community questions. After this recording, this will get uploaded into this folder, and you'll be able to pick this up from there. Hope that solves the question that somebody had. And if you know any other ways which I was not able to think about, please let me know into the comments. Uh, Happy New Year. Enjoy this new year. Let's learn something new every day whenever we get some time. Do subscribe to the channel if you like the content, and do share the video with your colleagues so that we all learn together. Thank you and have a great day.